Never let anyone tell you that money can't fix relationships, because sometimes it makes everything worse. My daughter told me I ruined her aesthetic. Those exact words. Can you imagine? Your own daughter, the person you raised, fed, clothed, and loved unconditionally, looks you in the eye and says you destroyed the perfect image she spent years building. At first, I laughed it off. I thought she was joking. But she wasn't. Her face was dead serious. And that moment changed everything between us. Now, before I tell you what I did next, let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like no matter what you do for someone, it's never enough? Like you could give them the world and they'd still find something to complain about? That's exactly how I felt that day. And what I did about it is something I never thought I'd do in my entire life. I'm about to tell you a story that involves a house, a huge amount of money, family drama, and a plot twist that left everyone in complete shock. This isn't one of those feel-good stories where everything works out perfectly. This is real life. This is messy. This is what happens when pride, love, and money collide in the worst possible way. And trust me, you need to hear every single detail because the ending is something you won't see coming. But first, if you love stories like this, stories about real family drama and the crazy things people do when pushed to their limits, you need to subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that subscribe button and leave a like to help this channel grow and bring you more content exactly like this. Because I promise you, the stories I share here are unlike anything you'll find anywhere else. So let me take you back to where this all started. My daughter, let's call her Sophia, has always been obsessed with aesthetics. And I don't mean she just liked things to look nice. I mean she was obsessed. Her entire life revolved around creating the perfect image. Her Instagram feed was curated like a museum. Every photo had the same color palette. Every outfit matched a specific vibe. Her apartment looked like it came straight out of a magazine. Everything had to be perfect. Everything had to match. Everything had to fit her aesthetic. And honestly, I was proud of her at first. She had this incredible eye for design. She knew exactly what she wanted and how to make it happen. She built a whole online presence around her style. People followed her. Brands started reaching out to her. She was making money from just posting pictures of her life. It was impressive, I won't lie. But then it started to get out of hand. She became so obsessed with maintaining this image that she stopped living in the real world. Every conversation we had somehow turned into a discussion about aesthetics, about branding, about how things looked. She couldn't just enjoy a meal at a restaurant. She had to take 20 photos first, find the perfect angle, make sure the lighting was right. She couldn't just hang out with friends. Everything had to be documented, everything had to be perfect. Apartment unannounced. I know, I should have called first. But I'm her father. I wanted to surprise her. I brought her favorite food, some things I thought she might need, and I just wanted to spend some time with my daughter. I didn't think it would be a big deal. But when I walked into her apartment, she freaked out. Not because I showed up without warning. Not because she was busy. But because I was carrying plastic bags. Regular, normal plastic bags from the grocery store. And apparently, those bags didn't match her aesthetic. I'm not kidding. She actually said that. She looked at me with this horrified expression and said, "Dad, you can't bring those bags in here. They ruin the whole vibe of my space." I thought she was joking at first. I laughed. But she didn't laugh back. She was serious. She actually wanted me to leave the bags outside or transfer everything to bags that matched her color scheme. I was stunned. I didn't know what to say. Here I was, her father, trying to do something nice, and she was more concerned about plastic bags than spending time with me. But I brushed it off. I figured she was just having a bad day. Maybe she was stressed about work. Maybe she had a lot on her mind. So I did what she asked. I put the bags outside and we spent some time together. But things got worse from there. Every time I visited, there was something wrong. My shoes didn't match her entryway aesthetic. My jacket was the wrong color. I couldn't sit on certain furniture because I might mess up the arrangement. I couldn't touch certain decorations because they were positioned perfectly. It was like walking on eggshells in my own daughter's home. And then came the comment that broke me. We were having dinner at her place, and I accidentally spilled a tiny bit of wine on her white tablecloth. It was barely noticeable. I immediately offered to clean it, to replace the tablecloth, to do whatever she needed. But she just looked at me with this cold expression and said, "You always ruin everything. You ruined my aesthetic." Those words hit me harder than anything she'd ever said before. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. This wasn't about a tablecloth. This wasn't about plastic bags or shoes or jackets. This was about me. She saw me as something that didn't fit into her perfect world. I was the thing that ruined her aesthetic. I was the problem. I left her apartment that night feeling angrier than I'd felt in years. Not just angry at her, but angry at myself. Had I raised her to be this shallow? Had I failed as a father? Where did I go wrong? These questions kept spinning in my head as I drove home. And that's when I made a decision. A crazy, impulsive, probably stupid decision. But I made it anyway. I decided I was going to teach her a lesson. I was going to show her that life isn't about aesthetics. Life isn't about perfect images and curated feeds. Life is messy. Life is real. And sometimes, the things that don't match your aesthetic are the things that matter most. But I wasn't going to do this with words. I was going to do this with action. Big action. The next morning, I called my real estate agent. I told him I wanted to buy a house. Not just any house. A beautiful house. The kind of house my daughter had always dreamed about. The kind of house that would fit her aesthetic perfectly. He thought I was crazy. He asked me if I was sure, if I'd really thought this through. I told him I'd never been more sure of anything in my life. Within 2 weeks, I found the perfect property. It was a stunning modern house in an upscale neighborhood. White walls, huge windows, minimalist design, a beautiful garden. Everything was perfect. Everything matched. It was the kind of house that would get thousands of likes on Instagram. It was the kind of house my daughter had pinned on her mood boards a million times. I bought it. I didn't hesitate. I signed the papers, transferred the money, and just like that, I owned a house that cost more than I'd ever spent on anything in my entire life. My wife thought I'd lost my mind. My friends told me I was being ridiculous. But I didn't care. I had a plan. And I was going to see it through. I invited Sophia over for dinner at my place. I didn't tell her anything about the house. I just said I wanted to talk to her about something important. She agreed, probably thinking I was going to apologize for ruining her tablecloth. But I had something very different in mind. When she arrived, I could tell she was still upset with me. She was cold, distant, barely making eye contact. We sat down for dinner and made small talk for a while. And then I decided it was time. I pulled out an envelope and slid it across the table to her. She looked at it confused and asked what it was. I told her to open it. Inside the envelope were the keys to the house and the property deed, with her name on it. She stared at the papers for a long moment, not understanding what she was looking at. And then it clicked. Her eyes went wide. Her mouth dropped open. She looked at me like I'd just told her she won the lottery. "Dad, what is this?" she asked, her voice shaking. I smiled and said, "You told me I ruined your aesthetic. So I bought you a house. A perfect house. A house that matches everything you love. It's yours. Completely yours. Consider it a gift." She couldn't believe it. She started crying. She jumped up from her chair and hugged me tight, thanking me over and over again. She said she was sorry for what she'd said, that she didn't mean it, that she loved me. And in that moment, I felt good. I felt like maybe I'd done the right thing. Maybe this was going to fix everything between us. But then I did something she never expected. Something that changed everything. I looked at my daughter, still crying tears of joy, still holding those keys like they were the most precious thing in the world, and I said something that made her freeze completely. "There's just one condition." Her smile faded a little bit. She wiped her tears and looked at me with confusion. "What condition?" she asked carefully. And that's when I told her. "You have to live in that house exactly as it is right now for 6 months. You can't change anything. You can't redecorate. You can't rearrange the furniture. You can't repaint the walls. Nothing. You have to accept it completely, just like I've always accepted you." The room went silent. You could hear a pin drop. Sophia just stared at me, not saying anything. I could see her brain working, trying to process what I just said. And then she asked the question I knew was coming. "What do you mean exactly as it is? Have you already furnished it?" I nodded. "Yes. The house is completely ready. Fully furnished. Everything you need is already there. But here's the thing. I decorated it." "Your father, who apparently ruins aesthetics. I chose every piece of furniture. I picked every color. I arranged every room. And you have to live with my choices for 6 months without changing a single thing." Her face went pale. I could see the panic in her eyes. She looked down at the keys in her hand and then back at me. "Dad, are you serious right now?" I nodded again. "Completely serious. 6 months. That's all I'm asking. If after 6 months you still want to change everything, go ahead. But for 6 months, you live in the house I created for you. You accept it. Just like I've accepted every criticism, every comment about how I don't fit your aesthetic." She didn't know what to say. Part of her wanted that house so badly. I could see it in her eyes. It was her dream house, in her dream neighborhood. But the other part of her was terrified. What if my taste was terrible? What if the house looked nothing like what she wanted? What if it was embarrassing? What if she couldn't post pictures of it on her Instagram? I could see all these thoughts racing through her mind. And honestly, I felt a little bad. But I also felt like this was necessary. She needed to learn this lesson. She needed to understand that life isn't always going to match her aesthetic. Sometimes you have to accept things as they are. Sometimes you have to appreciate the thought and love behind something, even if it's not perfect. After what felt like forever, she finally spoke. "Can I at least see it first before I agree?" I shook my head. "No. You either accept the condition right now and move in, or you give me back the keys and we forget this whole thing ever happened. Your choice." It was harsh, I know. But I needed her to make a real decision. I needed her to choose between her obsession with perfection and her relationship with me. Because that's what this had become. It wasn't about a house anymore. It was about whether she valued her aesthetic more than she valued her father. She stood there for a long time, looking at those keys. I could see tears forming in her eyes again, but these were different tears. These weren't tears of joy. These were tears of frustration, confusion, maybe even anger. And then, finally, she made her decision. She looked at me and said, "Okay, I accept. 6 months. I won't change anything." I smiled. "Good. You can move in this weekend." She nodded slowly, still looking uncertain. We finished dinner in awkward silence. She left shortly after, taking the keys with her. And as I watched her drive away, I wondered if I just made the biggest mistake of my life or the best decision I'd ever made. The next few days were tense. Sophia barely texted me. When she did, her messages were short and cold. I could tell she was nervous about seeing the house. Maybe she was even regretting her decision. But she didn't back out. She kept her word. And on Saturday morning, I met her at the house with the moving truck. When we pulled up to the property, her eyes lit up. From the outside, the house was absolutely perfect. Exactly what she'd always wanted. Modern, clean, beautiful landscaping. I could see her taking mental photos already, probably planning her Instagram posts. But then we walked inside. And everything changed. The moment she stepped through the front door, her face dropped. She looked around the living room with an expression I'll never forget. It was a mix of shock, horror, and complete disbelief. Because the house I'd decorated was nothing like what she expected. Nothing at all. I'd filled it with the most mismatched furniture you could imagine. Bright colors everywhere. A purple couch next to an orange armchair. A green coffee table with pink decorations. The walls were painted in different colors in each room. Yellow kitchen, blue bedroom, red dining room. Nothing matched. Nothing coordinated. It was chaos. Beautiful, intentional chaos. But here's the thing. Every single piece of furniture, every decoration, every color choice had a meaning. The purple couch was the same color as her favorite toy when she was 5. The orange armchair matched the first dress her mother ever bought her. The green coffee table was the color of the bike she learned to ride on. Every single thing in that house represented a memory, a moment from her childhood, something meaningful from our family history. I'd spent weeks planning this. I'd gone through old photos, talked to her mother, remembered every important moment. And I'd turned all of those memories into a physical space. The house wasn't aesthetically pleasing in the traditional sense. But it was filled with love. It was filled with history. It was filled with us. Sophia walked through the house in complete silence. She didn't say a word. She just looked at everything with this blank expression. I followed behind her, waiting for her reaction. And when we got to the bedroom, she finally saw it. On the wall, I'd hung a huge collage of family photos. Every important moment from her life. Her first birthday, her first day of school, family vacations, graduation, everything. Hundreds of photos arranged in the shape of a heart. She stood in front of that wall for a long time. And then she started crying. But not angry crying. Not frustrated crying. Real crying. Deep, emotional crying. She turned to look at me with tears streaming down her face and asked, "Why did you do this?" I took a deep breath and said, "Because I wanted you to remember that life isn't about matching colors and perfect angles. Life is about moments. Life is about memories. Life is about the people who love you, even when they don't fit your aesthetic. Every piece of furniture in this house represents a moment we shared. Every color represents something you loved. This house is a reflection of your real life, not the curated version you show online." She didn't say anything. She just kept crying. And I wasn't sure if I'd done the right thing or if I'd just made everything worse. The movers started bringing in her boxes, and she quietly directed them where to put things. We didn't talk much for the rest of the day. I helped her unpack some essentials and then I left, telling her to call me if she needed anything. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about her face when she saw the house. I kept wondering if I'd gone too far. If I'd been too harsh. If this lesson was going to push her away instead of bringing us closer. My wife tried to reassure me, but even she wasn't completely sure I'd done the right thing. Days went by and I barely heard from Sophia. She posted one photo on Instagram, a carefully angled shot of the outside of the house with a caption about new beginnings. But no interior photos. Nothing about the decoration. Nothing about her father who bought her a house. Just that one exterior shot. And then silence. I wanted to reach out to her, but I'd made the rules clear. 6 months. No changes. She had to live with it. So I gave her space, hoping she was okay, hoping she was learning something from this experience. 2 weeks passed. And then, late one night, my phone rang. It was Sophia. My heart jumped. I answered immediately, worried something was wrong. Her voice was quiet, almost whisper-like. "Dad, can you come over? I need to talk to you about something." I got dressed and drove to the house, my mind racing with possibilities. Was she going to tell me she couldn't do it? Was she going to give me back the keys? Was she angry? When I arrived, all the lights in the house were on. I knocked on the door and she opened it quickly, pulling me inside. And that's when I saw it. The living room was full of people. Her friends. At least a dozen of them, all sitting on that mismatched furniture, laughing and talking. The house was alive with energy. And every single person there was looking at the walls, at the decorations, at the photos, asking Sophia about the stories behind everything. She grabbed my hand and pulled me into the room. "Dad, I want you to meet everyone. And I want you to tell them the stories. Tell them about the purple couch. Tell them about the orange chair. Tell them everything." And that's exactly what I did. Before we continue, I need you to do something for me. Subscribe to this channel right now. Leave a comment telling me what you think about this story so far. Hit that like button. Because this story gets even crazier, and you don't want to miss what happens next. The ending is going to blow your mind. So there I was, standing in this chaotic, colorful living room, surrounded by my daughter's friends, about to tell them the stories behind every piece of furniture. And honestly, I felt nervous. These were young people, probably around Sophia's age, all dressed perfectly, all looking like they stepped out of a fashion magazine. And here I was, this regular middle-aged guy, about to explain why I decorated a house like a rainbow exploded inside it. But Sophia looked at me with these eyes, these genuine warm eyes that I hadn't seen in months. And she squeezed my hand and said, "Dad, please. Tell them. I want them to understand." So I did. I started with the purple couch. When Sophia was 5 years old, she had this stuffed elephant. I began. It was purple, exactly this shade of purple. She took it everywhere. She wouldn't sleep without it. She wouldn't go to school without it. That elephant was her best friend. And one day, we went to the park and she forgot it there. We didn't realize until we got home. By the time we went back, it was gone. Someone had taken it. Sophia cried for 3 days straight. She was heartbroken. So her mother and I drove to 5 different stores trying to find the exact same elephant. We finally found one, and when we gave it to her, her face lit up exactly the way it did when I gave her the keys to this house. That's why this couch is purple. Because that color represents one of the first times I was able to fix something that was broken in her life. The room was quiet. Everyone was listening. I looked at Sophia and she had tears in her eyes, but she was smiling. So I continued. I told them about the orange armchair, about her first dance recital and the orange dress she wore. I told them about the green coffee table and how it matched the bike she learned to ride, and how I ran behind her for hours in the park until she finally got it. I told them about every single color, every single piece of furniture, every single decoration. And something amazing started happening. Sophia's friends weren't looking at the house like it was ugly anymore. They were looking at it like it was the most beautiful thing they'd ever seen. Because suddenly, it wasn't just furniture. It was a story. It was a life. It was love made visible. One of her friends, a girl with perfect makeup and designer clothes, actually started crying. She said, "I wish my parents did something like this for me. This is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." After I finished telling all the stories, Sophia stood up and said something I'll never forget. She looked at all her friends and said, "I spent so much time trying to create the perfect aesthetic that I forgot what actually matters. I forgot that behind every perfect photo is a real person with a real story. And my dad reminded me of that. This house isn't aesthetically perfect, but it's perfect in every way that actually matters. And I'm not changing a single thing. Not after 6 months. Not ever." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This was my daughter, the girl who obsessed over matching colors and perfect angles, saying she never wanted to change this chaotic, mismatched house. She hugged me tight and whispered, "Thank you, Dad. Thank you for not giving up on me. Thank you for teaching me this lesson. I'm sorry for everything I said." In that moment, I felt like I'd won. I felt like the risk I took, the crazy decision I made, it all paid off. My daughter had learned the lesson. She understood now. Our relationship was fixed. Everything was going to be okay. But then, something happened that I didn't expect. Something that changed everything again. One of Sophia's friends pulled out her phone and took a picture of the living room. She posted it on Instagram with a caption about how beautiful real stories are, about how aesthetics mean nothing without meaning. Within an hour, that post had thousands of likes. People were commenting, asking about the house, wanting to know more about the story behind it. Sophia showed me the post, excited about how people were responding. And then her phone started blowing up. Brands were reaching out to her. Interior designers wanted to interview her. Magazines wanted to feature the house. Everyone wanted to know about this revolutionary concept of decoration with meaning, of aesthetics with purpose. At first, I thought it was nice. People appreciating what I'd done, understanding the message. But then things started getting weird. Sophia started getting offers. Big offers. Companies wanted to pay her to create meaningful spaces for other people. They wanted her to consult on projects. They wanted her to turn this whole thing into a business. And here's where it got complicated. Sophia came to me a few weeks later with a proposal. A company wanted to feature our story in a documentary. They wanted to film the house, interview both of us, and create content around this idea of meaningful decoration. They were offering a lot of money, like life-changing money, and they wanted my permission. I didn't know what to say. On one hand, I was proud that people understood the message. On the other hand, this was never about fame or money. This was about teaching my daughter a lesson. This was about fixing our relationship. I didn't want to turn it into some commercial thing. I told Sophia I needed time to think about it. But while I was thinking, she made a decision without me. She accepted the offer. She signed the contract. She scheduled the filming. And she didn't tell me until the day before they were supposed to arrive. When she finally called me and explained what she'd done, I felt that same anger I'd felt when she told me I ruined her aesthetic. Because once again, she'd turned something meaningful into content. She'd turned our story into a product. We had a huge fight. I told her she'd missed the entire point. I told her this wasn't about getting famous or making money. This was about real life, about family, about love. She argued that sharing the story could help other people, could inspire other families to focus on what really matters. But I couldn't shake the feeling that she was just using this for her own benefit, for her brand, for her image. I refused to participate in the documentary. I told her she could do whatever she wanted with the house since it was technically hers, but I wouldn't be part of it. She was upset. She said I was being unfair, that I was holding her back. But I stood my ground. And for the next few weeks, we barely spoke again. The documentary crew came and filmed everything. They interviewed Sophia, her friends, they got shots of every room, every piece of furniture. And when the documentary came out, it went viral. Millions of people watched it. Sophia became internet famous. She was invited to speak at events, to write articles, to consult on projects. She was making more money than she'd ever made before. But every interview she did, every article she wrote, she talked about the house and the meaning behind it without mentioning me. She never said it was her father's idea. She never gave credit to the person who actually created this whole thing. She made it seem like it was her concept, her realization, her journey. And that hurt more than anything she'd ever said before. I watched from a distance as she built this entire career on a lesson I taught her. A lesson she clearly still hadn't learned. Because she'd taken something genuine and turned it into a brand. She'd taken something meaningful and turned it into content. She'd done exactly what I was trying to teach her not to do. And I felt like I'd failed. Again. Months passed. Sophia's career kept growing. She launched a whole business around meaningful interior design. She was successful, wealthy, famous. But we barely talked. She was too busy with her new life. And I was too hurt to reach out. My wife kept telling me to call her, to try to fix things, but I couldn't. I felt betrayed. I felt used. And then, one day, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. It was a lawyer. He told me that Sophia had done something, and I needed to come to his office immediately. He wouldn't tell me what it was over the phone. He just said it was urgent and I needed to come right away. My heart was racing as I drove to his office. What had she done? Was she in trouble? Was something wrong? When I arrived, the lawyer sat me down and handed me a folder. Inside were legal documents. A lot of them. I started reading, trying to understand what I was looking at. And then I saw it. Sophia had transferred the house back to my name. But not just the house. She'd also transferred all the money she'd made from the documentary, from her business, from everything related to the story. Every single cent. Back to me. I was confused. I didn't understand. Why would she do this? The lawyer explained that Sophia had left a letter for me. He handed it to me and I opened it with shaking hands. And what I read in that letter broke my heart and put it back together at the same time. The letter was handwritten, several pages long, and I could tell from the smudged ink that Sophia had been crying while writing it. I started reading, and with every word, I felt my throat getting tighter. Dad, I know you probably hate me right now. I know I messed up. I know I took your beautiful gesture and turned it into exactly what you were trying to teach me not to do. I turned meaning into content. I turned love into a brand. And I didn't even give you credit for it. I let the whole world think this was my idea, my realization, my story. When the truth is, it was always yours. You're the one who taught me this lesson. You're the one who risked everything to show me what really matters. And I repaid you by using it for fame and money. I'm so sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry. I had to stop reading for a moment. The lawyer handed me a tissue. I wiped my eyes and continued. It took me a long time to realize what I'd done. At first, I convinced myself I was doing a good thing. I was sharing an important message. I was helping people. But deep down, I knew the truth. I was doing it for me. For my image. For my career. I was doing exactly what I'd always done. Prioritizing aesthetics over substance. Prioritizing appearance over reality. And the worst part is, I did it with your gift. I took the most meaningful thing anyone has ever done for me and I cheapened it. The turning point came 3 weeks ago. I was giving a speech at a design conference. I was talking about meaningful spaces and authentic living. And someone in the audience raised their hand and asked me a question. They said, if this lesson was so important to you, why don't you ever mention your father? Why don't you give him credit? Why do you act like you came up with this yourself? And I froze, Dad. I completely froze. Because I didn't have a good answer. I had excuses. I had justifications. But I didn't have a real answer. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about that question. And I realized something. I was still doing it. I was still ruining things. But this time, I wasn't ruining my aesthetic. I was ruining us. I was ruining the most important relationship in my life. And for what? For likes. For followers. For money. None of it means anything without you. So I made a decision. I'm giving it all back. The house, the money, everything. I don't want any of it. Because none of it is mine. It's yours. You created this. You taught me this lesson. And I have no right to profit from it. I'm starting over, Dad. I'm going back to basics. I'm closing my business. I'm deleting my Instagram. I'm done with the aesthetic life. I'm done with curated images and perfect posts. I just want to be your daughter again. If you'll still have me. I know this letter isn't enough. I know I hurt you badly. But I'm hoping maybe, eventually, you can forgive me. I love you, Dad. I love you more than any aesthetic, more than any image, more than anything in this world. And I'm sorry it took me this long to show you that. Your daughter, Sophia. I finished reading the letter and just sat there in silence. The lawyer was watching me carefully, probably wondering if I was okay. Finally, he spoke. She did all of this last week. She transferred everything back to you. She meant every word of that letter. I've never seen someone so determined to make things right. I folded the letter carefully and put it back in the envelope. I thanked the lawyer and walked out of his office in a daze. I got in my car, but I didn't drive home. I drove straight to Sophia's apartment. I needed to see her. I needed to talk to her. Right now. When I got there, I knocked on her door. No answer. I knocked again, louder this time. Still nothing. I called her phone. It rang and rang, but she didn't pick up. I started to panic. Where was she? Was she okay? I called again. And again. Finally, on the 5th call, she answered. Her voice was quiet, broken. Dad, where are you? I asked. I need to see you right now. There was a long pause. I'm at the house, she said finally. Your house. The one you decorated. I came here to say goodbye to it before you take it back. I drove to the house faster than I should have. When I pulled up, I saw her car in the driveway. The front door was unlocked. I walked inside and found her sitting on the purple couch, looking at the photo wall in the bedroom through the doorway. She didn't turn around when I came in. She just kept staring at those photos. Sophia, I said quietly. She finally turned to look at me. Her eyes were red from crying. Her face was pale. She looked exhausted. I got your letter, I told her. She nodded slowly. I meant every word. I walked over and sat down next to her on that purple couch. We sat in silence for a moment. And then I said something I'd been thinking about the entire drive over. You're not taking down your Instagram. She looked at me confused. What? I repeated myself. You're not closing your business. You're not giving back the money. You're not starting over. But Dad, I don't want any of it. I don't deserve it. I took your idea and I cut her off. You took my idea and you shared it with the world. You helped thousands of people understand something important. Yes, you messed up by not giving me credit. Yes, you turned it into something commercial. But you know what? You also spread a message that needed to be spread. You made people think about what really matters. And that's worth something. She started crying again. But I hurt you. I used you. I put my arm around her. Yes, you did. And that hurt badly. But you also realized what you did wrong. You owned up to it. You tried to make it right. And that takes courage, Sophia. That takes real growth. Do you know how many people would have just kept going, kept pretending they did nothing wrong? But you didn't. You stopped. You reflected. You changed. And that's what this whole thing was about. Not the house. Not the furniture. Not the decorations. It was about you learning to see past the surface and look at what really matters. So here's what we're going to do, I continued. You're going to keep the house. You're going to keep the business. You're going to keep doing what you're doing. But you're going to do it right this time. You're going to tell the real story. You're going to give credit where credit is due. You're going to be honest about your mistakes and your growth. And together, we're going to show people that it's okay to mess up, as long as you learn from it and make it right. Sophia looked at me with disbelief. Are you serious? After everything I did, you still want to help me? I smiled. You're my daughter. I'll always want to help you, even when you ruin my aesthetic. She laughed through her tears. It was the first time I'd heard her really laugh in months. She hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. Thank you, Dad. Thank you for not giving up on me. Again. We spent the rest of that day in the house, talking about everything. About her mistakes, about my mistakes, about how we both could have handled things better. We talked about her business and how she could restructure it to be more authentic. We talked about doing interviews together, about telling the real story from both perspectives. We talked about family, about love, about what really matters in life. And you know what? She finally got it. Really got it. Not because I forced her to live in a mismatched house. Not because I gave her an ultimatum. But because she experienced the consequences of her choices and she chose to learn from them. She chose to grow. She chose to change. And that's all I ever wanted as a father. Today, Sophia runs a successful business helping people create meaningful spaces in their homes. But now, she does it right. Every project starts with understanding the client's story, their memories, their real life. Not their Instagram feed. Not their aesthetic goals. Their actual life. And she always gives credit to where she learned this lesson. She tells our story honestly, including her mistakes. And people love it even more because it's real. The house still stands exactly as I decorated it. Sophia lives there and she hasn't changed a single thing. Not because she has to, but because she doesn't want to. Every morning when she wakes up, she sees those memories on the walls and she remembers what really matters. And every time I visit, which is often now, I see my daughter. Not the curated version. Not the perfect image. Just my daughter. The real her. And she's beautiful. Was buying that house crazy? Absolutely. Was decorating it with mismatched furniture risky? For sure. Did I think it would work out this way? Honestly, no. I thought she might hate me forever. I thought I might lose her completely. But sometimes, the crazy risks are the ones worth taking. Sometimes, you have to do something extreme to shake someone awake. And sometimes, love means being willing to be the bad guy if that's what it takes to teach an important lesson. This whole experience taught me something too. It taught me that parenting doesn't end when your kids grow up. It doesn't end when they move out or start their own lives. Sometimes, the most important lessons come later. And sometimes, the best thing you can do for your children is to show them, not tell them. To let them experience real consequences and real growth. If you're a parent watching this, or if you're someone who's struggling with what really matters in life, I want you to remember this story. Life isn't about perfect images. Life isn't about matching aesthetics. Life isn't about how things look on the outside. Life is about the moments that matter. The memories you create. The people you love. The stories you tell. Everything else is just decoration. And sometimes, the best decoration is the kind that doesn't match. The kind that tells a story. The kind that's messy and chaotic and full of love. Because that's what real life looks like. And real life, with all its imperfections, is more beautiful than any curated feed could ever be. My relationship with Sophia is stronger now than it's ever been. Not because everything is perfect, but because we went through something real together. We fought. We hurt each other. We learned. We grew. And we came out the other side better than before. That's what family is. Not perfection, but commitment to working through the imperfections together. So that's my story. That's what happened when my daughter said I ruined her aesthetic and I bought her a house. It's messy. It's complicated. It's real. Just like life should be. And I wouldn't change a single thing about it. Well, except maybe I would have used a slightly different shade of green on that coffee table. But that's a story for another time. If this story touched you, if it made you think about your own relationships or your own priorities, do me a favor. Subscribe to this channel for more real stories like this one. Thanks for watching, and remember, life is too short to worry about matching aesthetics.